Hello, hope you're doing great. This time I'm going to be showing you how to handle audio latency in Reaper, especially the audio latency introduced by your audio interface, and how you can properly measure it and then compensate for it, so that your recordings will end up on the right spot. While Reaper has a mechanism to automatically compensate for latency, this mechanism largely depends on the accuracy with which the audio interface is reporting its latency to Reaper. So if this mechanism doesn't work properly, latency is not compensated for in the right way, and you might be ending up getting timing issues. And you might also get issues using ReaInsert to integrate analog gear into the digital mixdown workflow. I'm now opening up Reaper's program preferences, and then in the audio menu you find the entry recording. And in that menu, Reaper has normally enabled the automatic mechanism for delay compensation. By doing the following measurements, I found out that Reaper was not correctly compensating for the latency of my audio interface. So to make sure that your system is correctly compensating for the latency of your audio interface, you might want to do the same measurements on your system. I will now create a new empty track and then define a time selection of 2 measures in length. 2 measures will be enough. Next step is to insert a click source item from the Insert menu, which will sound like this. This click will serve as a very precise reference signal for us to measure the system's audio latency. I'm renaming the track accordingly, give it a color. And now it's important to glue this item to audio. Now zooming in, you can see the actual waveform of it down to the single samples, but obviously the sound is still the same. So we will be using this reference signal, send it out of our sound card or audio interface, and immediately re-record it into another track by connecting the sound card's output we are using directly with an input of the same audio interface with a cable. I've opened up the track's routing menu. Next, I disabled the master send checkbox, and I'll be now selecting a desired hardware output from my interface, output 25 this time. I'll be patching the loopback cable on my patch bay, feeding output 25 right back into input 9 of the same audio interface. I'm now creating a new track which will receive the return of the loopback signal. I'm labeling it, then set it to the appropriate input 9. Let's give it a nice color. I'm now record arming the track and hit record. We are not hearing anything yet because I didn't turn on monitoring for the recording track. However, we do see that the incoming signal is being recorded a little bit behind the original reference signal. So let's assume you are singing to a music track and you've got the feeling to be in sync with it, but the recorded signal of your voice is getting recorded a little bit behind, so it will be off a little bit, in spite of you singing spot on. Let's measure the offset between the 2 signals. For this, I'm setting the timeline to show samples, and I'm now dragging the time selection without grid snapping enabled from the beginning of the lower wave to the beginning of our reference wave. Right here in the top right corner, Reaper shows the length of our time selection. So that's the amount of samples which our recorded signal is behind the reference signal. Let's do another measurement pass, this time unchecking the automatic latency compensation of Reaper. I'm simply hitting record and record another test pass. Zooming in, we see that it's even more off. Again, we will determine the length of this offset by dragging the time selection from the start of the recorded wave all the way to the start of the original reference wave. And we can see that this offset is 1145 samples. Checking again if I got the start right. Yeah. So we now enter this value 1145 into the manual sample offset, hit apply, and then do the last measurement pass to verify if everything will line up correctly. We zoom in and not quite. I think there's a one sample offset still, so yes, there is. Let's correct our manual offset value. One more sample. Okay, let's do the last test run then. And now finally we have found the exact value which is appropriate for our system to correctly compensate for any latency introduced by the audio interface. Anytime we will be recording something now, the recorded item will end up on the right spot. Keep in mind that this particular value is the one for my system and yours will probably be different. I've now inserted a playback track and a voice track to demonstrate how to set up ReaInsert correctly. ReaInsert comes with Reaper and allows you to route audio directly from a track into external hardware devices and back into the track. As you can see, I've prepared a track template to get some kind of vintage reverb send effect. I'm quickly setting up a rough mix. Let's add a send from the vocal track to the reverbs track.
Time to regret, kept his lips wet with his same old safe bet. Me had my head high, had my tears dry, get on without my guide.
To use ReaInsert, I'll be creating a new track. I'm loading the plugin onto it to process the vocal track with the rack version of a BAE 1084, which offers a mic line preamp and an EQ. Again, I'll be using hardware output 25 and patch it into the input of the BAE 1084. I'm selecting the correct return input, which is number 1. I'm always assigning identical in and out channels for left and right if I'm working on a mono signal, like in this case. I obviously change this if I'm working on stereo signals. I usually take the original track and make it a child track of the track where ReaInsert is on. The reason for this is that I can then easily record the processed return signal on its own track. This is why I've also set the track to be able to record its output. I've created yet another parent folder for the ReaInsert track. This allows me to adjust the volume of the processed signal to make it sit in the mix while previewing it in real time, while having ReaInsert sending the signal out at unity gain and also having it receive the processed return signal at unity gain. Hence, the recording of ReaInsert's output will also be at unity gain. Meanwhile, I removed the lingering effect send, which was still present on the vocals track, and instead created a new send from the new parent track. Let's fiddle a bit with the knobs of the 1084. First, let's bring up the gain. EQ is still reset and disengaged.
So far we moved from all that we've been through, and I tread a troubled tread. My odds are set. I go back to black. We only said goodbye. I died 100 times. You go back to her and I go back to us. I loved you much. It's not enough. You love blow and I love power. Like a pie, and I'm a tiny penny rolling up the walls inside. We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back to her and I go back to. We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 kept his lips wet with his same old safe bet. Me had my head high, had my tears dry, get on without my guide. And you went back to what you knew. So far we moved from all that we've been through. And I tread a troubled track. My odds are stacked. I go back to black. We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back to her and I go back to us. I loved you much. It's not enough. You love blow and I love pie. And life is like a pie. And I'm a tiny penny rolling up the wall inside. We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back to her and I go back to. We only. He left no time to regret. Kept his lips wet with his same old safe bet. Me had my head high, had my tears dry, get on without my guide. And you went back to what you knew. So far we moved from all that we've been through. And I tread a troubled track. My odds are stacked. I go back to black. We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back to her and I go back to us. I loved you much. It's not enough. You love blow.
Okay, now let's record the processed signal.
He left no time to regret. Kept his lips wet with his same old safe bet. Me had my head high, had my tears dry. My God. And you went back to what you knew. So far we moved from all that we've been through. And I tread a troubled track. My odds are stacked. I go back to black.
I'll be now imploding these two versions into one item as two takes to easily toggle between the two.
Kept his lips wet with his same old safe bet. Me had my head high, had my tears dry, get on without my guide. And you went back to what you so far we moved from all that we've been through. And I tread a troubled tread, my odds are stacked.
Okay, I hope you found this video interesting and helpful. See you next time.